Good day everyone, this is Teacher Cherry. In this video, we will learn about proportion. We will describe a proportion. Before tayo mag-proceed sa proportion, let us have a review first about ratio. Ratio is a comparison between two numbers. Meron tayong two numbers na pinag-compare. For example, what is the ratio between 2 and 5? Ang ratio between 2 and 5 can be written as in this form, 2:5. Ang tawag sa form na to is colon form. Or, pwede rin nating isulat as fraction form. So, this is also 2:5. Another example is the ratio between 5 and 3. What is the ratio? The ratio is 5:3. Or, in this form, fraction form, this is also 5:3. The ratio of two numbers m and n is the number m:n. So, ito naman yung ratio ng m and n. Or, in this fraction form, m:n, wherein n is not equal to 0. Sa ratio, yung pangalawang number ay hindi dapat equal sa 0. Kapag nag-equal sa 0 yung second number, magiging undefined na yung ating ratio. And always remember that ratios can be simplified the way fractions are simplified. Yung ratio ay pwede nating isimplify tulad ng pagsisimplify natin sa mga fractions. Let us now have examples of how ratios are applied in geometry. We have here the examples of how ratios are applied in geometry. Number 1, what is the ratio of the measure of an angle of a square to the measure of an angle of an equiangular triangle? Para makuha natin yung ratio nila, kukunin muna natin yung measure ng angle ng square and then yung measure ng angle ng equiangular triangle. For our solution, ang measure ng angle ng square is 90 degrees. Yung isang angle ng square is 90 degrees. While yung measure ng isang angle ng equiangular triangle measures 60 degrees. Pag kukunin natin yung ratio, measure of an angle of a square to the measure of an angle of equiangular triangle. Kaya meron tayong 90 degrees is to 60 degrees. Kung ano yung unang binanggit, yun yung una nating isusulat. Yung pangalawang binanggit, yun naman yung pangalawa. Hindi pwedeng magkabaliktad. Sabi natin kanina, ratios can be simplified the way fractions are simplified. So, this is not yet in simplest form, kaya isi-simplify muna natin. The simplified form of 90:60 is equal to 3:2. Okay, so 90 degrees, divide natin sa 30. 90 divided by 30 is 3. 60 divided by 30 is 2. Therefore, the ratio of the measure of an angle of a square to the measure of an angle of an equiangular triangle is 3:2. Let us have the second example. What is the ratio between the lengths of the legs of an isosceles triangle? Ang given sa ating question is isosceles triangle. Ang isosceles triangle ay mayroong legs na equal. For example, ang measure ng legs nila ay 5 centimeters. So, 5 centimeters is to 5 centimeters in simplified form, that is 1:1. Therefore, the ratio is 1:1. Ang ratio ay nagagamit din to compare 3 or more numbers. So, hindi lang dalawang numbers ang pinagko-compare. Let us have example in comparing angles of polygon. The ratio of the angles of a triangle is 1:2:3. What are the degree measures of the angles of the triangle? Ang given na polygon is triangle. For our solution, para makuha natin yung degree measures ng angles ng triangle, ilalet K muna natin yung measure ng first angle. Saan galing yung K? So, 1 times K. For the second angle, we will let 2 times K or 2K. So, yung ratio dito na 2, minultiply natin sa K. Yung third angle naman, which is 3 dito sa ratio, imumultiply natin sa K para makuha yung third angle. And then, based sa ating given na problem, which is triangle, ang measures ng mga angles ng triangle is 180 degree. Yung sum ng measures ng angles ng triangle is 180 degrees. Bubuo tayo ng equation, gamit yon. K plus 2K plus 3K equals 180 degrees. After that, we will add K, 2K, and 3K. K plus 2K is 3K plus 3K is 6K equals 180 degrees. After that, i-divide natin both sides by 6 para ma-isolate natin yung K. 6K divided by 6 is K and 180 divided by 6 is 30 degrees. Ang K natin is the first angle. So, meron na tayong measure ng first angle. Para makuha yung second angle, gagamitin natin yung 2K. Substitute natin yung K ng 30 degrees. We have 2K equals 2 times 30 degrees. 2 times 30 is equal to 60 degrees. This is the second angle. For the third angle, we will use 3K. Pareha sa ginawa natin dito, sasubstitute natin yung K ng 30 degrees. 3K equals 3 times K is 30 degrees. 3 times 30 degrees is 90 degrees. Therefore, ang measures ng angles ng triangles are 30 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. Let us have another problem involving ratio. The ratio between the two consecutive angles of a parallelogram is 1:5. What are the measures of the angles? Ang given sa ating problem is parallelogram. So, recall natin yung mga properties ng parallelogram. Since ang given sa ating problem is two consecutive angles of parallelogram which has a ratio of 1:5. For our solution, ilalet K natin yung first angle and then 5K naman yung second angle. 1:5 yung ratio, 1 times K is K, 5 times K is 5K. Yung K and 5K will be the consecutive angles of a parallelogram. Balikan natin yung property ng parallelogram na consecutive angles. Ang consecutive angles ng parallelogram are supplementary. Therefore, ang sum ng dalawang angles ay 180 degrees. Ang magiging equation natin is K plus 5K equals 180 degrees. Then, add natin yung K at 5K which is 6K equals 180 degrees. Apply natin yung division property. Divide natin both sides by 6. 6k divided by 6 is k. 180 degrees divided by 6 is 30 degrees. Ang k natin is the first angle. Para makuha yung measure ng second angle, gagamitin natin yung 5k. 5k is equal to 5 times ang value ng k is 30 degrees. 5 times 30 degrees is equal to 150 degrees. This is the measure of the second angle. Therefore, the consecutive angles of a parallelogram are 30 degrees and 150 degrees. Let's now proceed to proportion. Proportion is the equality of two ratios. So, meron tayong dalawang ratio sa proportion. The equality of two ratios, A is to B and C is to D, form the so-called proportion. Meron tayong ditong ratio na A is to B and C is to D. Yung equality nila ay nagpapakita ng proportion. In proportion, B is not equal to 0 and D is not equal to 0. Para hindi maging undefined yung ating proportion. In proportion, pwede natin din siyang isulat in fraction form. We have A is to B equals C is to D. Parehas lang itong dalawang to in column form at saka in fraction form. This proportion are both read as A is to B as C is to D o kaya naman ay A is to B equals C is to D. So, ito yung dalawang way ng pagbasa ng proportion. A is to B equals C is to D or A is to B as C is to D. Ang variable A natin ay tinatawag nating first term. Ang B natin ay tinatawag na second term. Ang variable na C ay tinatawag na third term. At ang variable na D ay tinatawag na fourth term. Dito sa ating column form, ang A is the first term, B is the second term, C is the third term, and D is the fourth term. Meron din tayong tinatawag na means and extremes sa proportion. Ang means natin ay yung mga second and third terms. Dito sa ating fraction form, ang ating means ay ang B at saka C. At ang ating extremes ay ang A at saka D. Always remember, means ay yung second and third terms at yung extremes ay yung first at saka fourth terms. Dito sa column form, para mas matandaan natin, ang means ay itong mga terms na nasa gitna, yung B at saka C. At ang extremes natin ay itong mga nasa labas, yung A at saka D. Ang A at D ay ang ating extremes. Okay, ulitin natin. Ang first and fourth terms ay tinatawag na extremes, while ang second and third terms ay tinatawag na means. Dito sa ating column form, yung second and third or yung nasa gitna, siya yung means. Yung first and fourth terms, which is nasa labas, sila yung extremes. Remember, in a proportion, the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. Kapag kinuha natin yung product ng extremes, equal siya sa product ng means. We will now have the equation A times D equals B times C. A times D is the product of extremes. BC is the product of the means. A times D is equal to B times C. Magagamit natin ito sa pag-solve ng problem involving proportion. Let us have example involving proportion. The first, second, and third terms of a proportion are 18, 24, and 27 respectively. What is the fourth term? Para makuha natin yung fourth term, isusulat muna natin yung problem into proportion. Since ang given lang ay first, second, and third terms, ang fourth term ay isusulat natin as a variable. We will let x be the fourth term. In proportion, we will have 18 is to 24 equals 27 is to x. 18 is the first term, 24 is the second term, 27 is the third term, and x will be the fourth term. To solve the value of the fourth term, i-apply natin yung property na the product of the means equals the product of the extremes. Ang means natin ay 24 and 27, while extremes ay 18 and x. Therefore, we have 18 times x equals 24 times 27. Ang product ng extremes ay equal sa product ng means. Then simplify natin, 18 times x is 18x, 24 times 27 is 648. We have 18x equals 648. Apply natin ang division property. Divide both sides by 18. 18x divided by 18 is x, while 64 divided by 18 is equal to 36. Therefore, ang value ng fourth term natin is 36. Therefore, the fourth term is 36. Ang proportion ay pwedeng isulat sa iba't ibang pamamaraan. Ang susunod na video natin is about properties of proportions na pwede nating gamitin in solving word problems. So, just keep on watching.